Hello. Shavua Tov. I am happy to see some of you here, and hopefully we will be joined in just a moment by other people. If you are watching on a computer, you're going to see that I am sharing the various prayers and readings for today via a PowerPoint presentation. So you will be able to more easily follow along with the prayers. If you are listening by phone, good evening. And I apologize, you won't have this visual in front of you, but I hope that you will be able to connect and find comfort in the words that we're going to be talking about. So for this evening, we are in Shmini Atzeret. We're in that time of the high holiday cycle where we are moving towards the end of the holy days. And Shmini Atzeret is the 8th day of gathering, is sort of what it means, the 8th day of assembly. And the best way I have heard it described was by a professor of mine, Rabbi Richard Hirsch, who said, it's sort of like you have all of these, we've gone through all of these holidays, and then we go through all of Sukkot. In Sukkot, we are literally opening all of our doors in our sukkah and welcoming everybody in. And then when we get to the end of that, tomorrow we'll have Simchat Torah. There'll be another party. There'll be more celebrating. We're going to be doing a Simchat Torah program here on video, on live stream, not here in person, unfortunately, at 10 a.m. You can dial in this same number that you dialed in for tonight. But in between, you sort of need to take a breath. And so my colleague, colleague and teacher, Rabbi Richard Hirsch, said, it's sort of like the time after Thanksgiving dinner, when all of the guests have gone home and just your smaller family group is there, and you all can just sort of sit down and relax and take a breath, and you're no longer, you no longer have sort of outside visitors. You could just sort of relax and be who you are and lay down on the couch if you need to, or do whatever you want. So Shmini Atzeret is quite like that. Shmini Atzeret is in the agricultural cycle, the biblical agricultural cycle. It is related to the prayers for rain, invoking rain. If we were in Jerusalem, anywhere in the Holy Land in Israel, we would be hoping for the rainy season to get going. We don't necessarily hope for that here, but were we there? And so we start our service for Shmini Atzeret with a prayer for rain. And this prayer is by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt. Millennia ago, the earth was washed in water. Connections sparked unimaginable across the water. The life we know begins cradled in water. Each human being emerges in a flood of water. From ancient times, we've prayed to God for water, not too much, not too little, just enough water. This year, the landscape I first knew lacked water, grasslands parched, thirsting for drops of water. This year, the hills where I live ran with water, seeping through roofs, swelling doors shut with water. To mark holy times, we immerse ourselves in water, washing our old hurts away in water. In the city of gold, rooftop tanks collect water. Those who have and those who lack fight over water. In the beginning, presence hovered over water, mysterious and unknowable like deep water. The bodies we inhabit are made of water. Our veins and tissues stay functional through water. We couldn't stand and offer praise without water. Source of all, be kind to us, send water. And water, of course, in Jewish tradition also is linked to healing. So for tonight's service, in addition to doing the Yizkor, I wanted to bring some awareness to the sort of existential need for healing that many of us and our world is feeling right now as things are so different, including seeing you all just as faces over Zoom or just as symbols, Patricia, to know that you're there on the other end of the phone. And so the blessing of faces is a prayer, Zoom prayer by Alden Salovey. So many beautiful faces, so many radiant souls shining forth into our hearts. Look at those eyes, the smiles, the hopes, the fears, the yearning, the questioning, the compassion, the love. Take it in, take it all in, the tenderness, the humanity, the blessing of faces arrayed before you, the blessing of faces given and received. And as I said, in these times of feeling so distant, I think that the greatest need for healing that we are reminded of again and again when we are sheltering in place, if we are, God forbid, quarantined, when we are unable to be as close as we want to the people we want to be close with, that feeling of fault line, a feeling of separation is one that we need to be constantly aware is in need of healing. So from Suzanne Sabransky, fault lines for the ones who need healing. Cracks form as we survive grief. They start with sharp, broken edges, eventually dulled when worn by time. The crevices remain, but they narrow, and rather than fall into them, hope and light begin to emerge. We can never completely avoid them. They can reappear when least expected, yet with each day that passes, we learn to appreciate their evocations. The sharp stabs become less and fewer. The colorful memories grow more vivid. Without the gift of deeply loving, the sorrow of grief can't abide. And without the sorrow of grief, the depth of love remains silent. We all heal in our own time frame. May Adonai speed your healing now. The central prayer in Jewish tradition is, of course, the Shema. It is the prayer that declares our loyalty to the teachings of and the principles of Judaism, especially the one, perhaps sometimes I feel the only one on which we all can agree, of the singleness of God, that single unity of God. And one of the midrash, one of the stories that's told about these words, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, is that this is what Jacob's sons said to him on his deathbed. So the scene in the midrash is that Jacob is laying on his deathbed. He has finally been reunited with his son Joseph, and all of his sons are all in the same place at the same time. And he is lying there, and he's concerned. He says, you know, what will become of our family? What will become of our legacy? What will become of you, my sons? The covenant that we've made with God, all of the work that we've made to put us through to this moment. And we are told that the sons said, Shema Yisrael, listen, Yisrael, Israel, using Jacob's name that was God-given name from his wrestling with the angels, not Jacob, but Israel. Listen, Israel, listen, Father. Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai is our God. We have accepted, we have heard what you have taught us. We have learned it, we have taken it in. Adonai Echad, only God, only that one Adonai, as if to say, you shouldn't worry. We've heard you. We are following in your footsteps. We are living according to your hopes and dreams for us as individuals and as a people. And I think that when we stop and pause, particularly for Yizkor, and particularly when we're thinking about parents for whom we're saying the Yizkor prayer, parents who have already died, we are wanting to be able to, in some way, reassure them that we are still carrying them in our hearts, that we still, all of the lessons that we learned, we are still learning from, we are still growing from, we are still quoting you, we are still saying teachings in your name. And the Shema enables us to do this. And then we say the words following the vocalized Shema internally, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Blessed is God's holiness forever. So if you will join me in reciting the Shema together, we'll take just a few beats just to sort of be here, think about holiness, think about the unity that is suggested by this oneness of God, a unity that does not fall apart, does not leave us simply because death has severed a relationship. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And at these pilgrimage, this festival on Shmini Atzeret, as Sukkot is coming to a close, we say the communal Yizkor service, which we will move into now. It is one of 3 times that we say it throughout the year. It is in addition to, of course, whatever prayers we are saying and the moments that we're saying prayers for Yahrzeit. It's a time for us to reflect on that unity, so that Shema Echad, unity that links us to not only the people we've lost, but all of the Jewish people, all of the people who have been lost, whose names we recite together. And so we remember them and we say there are stars whose light reaches the earth only after they themselves have disintegrated. And there are individuals whose memory lights the world after they have passed from it. These lights shine in the darkest night and illumine for us the path. The words of Hannah Senesh. We remember those who lived, learned, prayed, celebrated, and mourned with us in times gone by. We remember mothers and fathers who built a foundation for our lives. We remember the partnership of spouses and the love that made those relationships holy. We remember brothers and sisters. We remember children taken before we were ready. We remember friends who touched our lives. May this gathering be a safe container for our memory and our grief. O God, on this holy day, help us to remember. These are from the words of Rabbi Jeffrey Goldwasser. And the first prayer for Yizkor that we offer, and we're going to offer these prayers, I will just tell you, say the category we are in. for Patricia, who's on the phone and not able to join us in person to see the script. So first silent prayers are remembering a parent. We give thanks. We give thanks for the shared history we call family, for the joyous laughter and the sorrowful tears, for the wisdom and compassion of our parents, and for the hopeful dreams of our children's future. We give thanks for the shared values we call community, for the caring neighbors and the generous friends, for a birth, a bris, a bat mitzvah, a wedding, and for the strength to comfort each other's sadness. We give thanks for the shared voyage we call life, for the memories, the jokes, the stories, for the ones who came before and the ones yet to be, and for the spirit of those who will be with us always. Remembering a spouse. To everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to reap, a time to suffer and a time to heal, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. From Ecclesiastes, Kohelet. So we are likely all aware that not all relationships are easy. Not all relationships of people we've lost are filled with only the good memories. And so here, a prayer for remembering a difficult relation. Say shalom bimromav. Oh God, I could bear the loss if only I did not have to remember, and I could bear the memories if only they did not bring such pain. and I could bear the pain if only I could weep, and weeping water the seedlings of care. Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, blessed are you, great heart, who grows sprouts of love amidst freshly dug roots. From Rabbi Shohama Harris Wiener. Remembering a child. Silence. Since I lost you, I am silence haunted. Sounds wave their little wings. A moment, then in weariness settle on the flood that soundless swings. Whether the people in the street like pattering ripples go by, or whether the theater sighs and sighs with a loud hoarse sigh, or the wind shakes a revel of light over the dead black river, or night's lasting echoing makes the daybreak shiver. I feel the silence waiting to sip them all up again in its last completeness, drink down the noise of men, by D.H. Lawrence. Finally, remembering beloved friends and relatives. It is not necessarily our halachic, our obligation according to Jewish law to say Yizkor for friends and relatives beyond a small circle, but we are aware that many of us have lost people who do go beyond those bonds and are still deeply felt in our heart. Psalm 23. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters to restore my soul. God leads me in paths of righteousness for the sake of the holy name. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Truly, goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of Adonai forever. And finally, a prayer reflection to add to our Yizkor, our remembering and healing in memory of those who continue to be afflicted and die from this COVID pandemic. One by one, as the COVID death toll mounts, by Alden Salavi. God of consolation, surely you count in heaven, just as we count here on earth in shock and in sorrow, the souls sent back to you one by one, the dead from the COVID pandemic, as the ones become tens, the tens become hundreds, the hundreds become thousands, thousands become 10,000s, and then 100,000s, each soul a heartbreak, each soul a life denied. God of wisdom, surely in the halls of divine justice, you are assembling the courts, calling witnesses to testify, to proclaim the compassion of some, the callousness of others. as we've struggled to cope, the souls taken too soon, whose funerals were lonely, who didn't need to die, who died alone. We'll tell their stories when you judge our triumphs and our failures in these hours of need. God of healing, put an end to this pandemic and all illness and disease. Bless those who stand in service to humanity. Bless those who grieve. Bless the dead, so that their souls are bound up in the bond of eternal life, and grant those still afflicted with disease or trauma a completed and lasting healing, one by one, until suffering ceases and we can stop counting the dead in heaven and on earth. El Male Rachamim. El Male Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Amtse Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kunfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Utorim Kezohar Arakia Mazirim, Lenishmat Yekirenu Shelcho Leolamam, Began Eden Te Menuchatam, Mal Rachamim Astirem Beseter Konfeav Leolamim V'yitzru b'tzrua Chaim Et Nishmotehem Adonai Hu Nechalatam V'yanuchu V'shalom Al Mishkevotehem V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, Spirit of the universe, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure who shine with the splendor of the heavens. To the souls of our dear ones who have gone to their reward, may the Garden of Eden be their rest. O God of mercy, guard them forever in the shadow of your wings. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkedal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, l'gala zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitman v'yitnaseh, v'tadar v'talei v'talal, shmei dekudesha b'richu, la'ela ul'ela min chol berchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, la'amiran v'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Yaseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. So I want to thank you all for being here, and want to wish you Shavua Tov, a good week, a Chag Sameach as we move from Shmini Atzeret to Simchat Torah. Again, we will meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for our Simchat Torah program. We will be singing the prayers, the central prayers for the Hakafa, and also then for those who would like to join us and are on some kind of screen, we'll be watching a Discovery Channel program that gives us a live tour of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Dead Sea Scroll Museum. So that begins tomorrow, Sunday at 10 a.m. Thank you all for being here. May we meet together next year in person, panim al panim. Shavua Tov.